All right.
Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to the third round of the Swiss Gauntlet of the Fabul Gauntlet. My name is Dathis. I'm going to be your restreamer today, joined by Jofes Manho as our tracker, and our fantastic commentary team of Hupfin and Smapety, who I'm just going to toss it right on over to.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for staying up late for some Free Enterprise action here tonight as we start round 3 of the Fabul Gauntlet. Really excited to be in the commentary booth. How are you doing tonight, Hupfin?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Doing great. So yeah, we've got a 1-1 matchup here tonight. This is going to be really good. These 1-1 matches are going to be so crucial for these runners. There's a very strict cutoff point for getting into the bracket stage here. Probably not going to want to lose more than 2 matches if you want to hope of not getting cut off. So both runners are going to be fighting for their lives here to stop from going 1-2. And yeah, we're probably going to see a lot of stops being brought out here because of that.
Yeah, going 1-2, not yet a death sentence, but it's going to really put you on edge in round 4. So you're going to want that bit of cushion. Starting off with a Tella, though, that's not going to make you feel very safe.
Yeah, it's not the strongest start, but recently I've gotten a little bit more of an appreciation for an early Tella. You do have access to 2 very crucial spells early on. You've got that Blink spell, which can really help in a lot of physical-based fights early on. And you have that Exit spell, which is going to be a very easy way to get out of dungeons. It's going to open up more checks that you might have ordinarily gone over because they're just not time efficient. That early waterway becomes a possibility. And since we haven't moved on to the T-Pro that will be in the bracket stage, we still have that open treasure chests. You might be able to find some good stuff early on if you delve just a little deeper because, you got that Exit, man.
Yeah, we have been seeing plenty of runners just, Mount Hobbs alone. There's all the treasure chests over there, but it's a bit tedious to get to. And if you have that Exit, well, it's not so tedious anymore. You might as well check that loot.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Mount Ordeals play being so much more incentivized in these objective-based seeds where you've got, boss hunts going on, you've got a higher chance of pulling a really good Holy Sword for Paladin Cecil later on. That also is another feather in Tella's cap because you're going to get his full spell list eventually because you're not going to be avoiding Ordeals as much as you would in, say, some of the more traditional flag sets we've seen.
Certainly. And, depending on how many boss-based objectives we have, that is 3 boss fights up there. That is a good density if our runners have to start hunting a lot of those down. But we won't get to see what those are until we get through this little intro, see our friend Kane, or whatever they were renaming him as, and the Crystal Ring to start things off.
Not a bad pull there for a first item. It's not progression, but the Crystal Ring is a very solid accessory that can go on just about anybody. Kane is a solid damage dealer. You're going to want to try to find some weapons for him. So wouldn't surprise me if our runners do a little bit of treasure hunting here before they run into any specific boss fights.
Yeah, I expect the usual Baron sweep, maybe a little extra treasure hunting, because like you said, you're going to want better equipment on Kane, and a lot of that is going to be available in these early chests.
Right you are.
And we have 3 character hunt objectives here: Cecil, Sid, and Yang.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of priority given to those character checks. Those Earth Crystal is starting to look very attractive here. Things like the Baron Key and checking Hobbs early. These are all going to be plays our runners are going to be looking for because they want to get that trifecta of characters here. That's a very interesting objective list.
Yeah, and it means that the tower key is the only key item that we know we need for our objectives. Everything else is theoretically not necessary.
Yeah, right, John. We do have one boss hunt in there, so not everything is kind of hunky dory. That single boss can be hidden anywhere, and those can tend to drag these seeds on a little bit. But we'll see where Leviathan decides to show up, and if he decides to make this a troll seed or a relatively more comfortable seed.
Well, we got to see where Sid decided to hang out with the Mist Dragon in the Baron Inn. So we at least have the information for tackling objective number 4.
Yes, that's going to be a lot of value there in Baron Inn. Not only are you going to get Sid for your objective, but you're also going to get the Mist Dragon there for another key item there. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we put some priority on getting into Baron Inn as soon as our runners feel like they're strong enough. Oh, there's a Gungnir in the bushes behind Baron. There's a weapon that'll help Kane out significantly.
Yeah. And we see the Magus sisters down at the waterfall. Bursik not interested in that fight.
Yeah, just sort of hunting right here, seeing, getting those early spots out of the way, making sure there's not a sneaky Leviathan hiding there with no Fu on the horizon just yet. A runner's not really interested in racking up boss kills. And we're going to get a very early check at Mount Hobbs here to see what the character waiting there is.
And hey, there's our Yang.
So that's 2 of our 3 characters, and only Cecil remains. We've seen a lot of required Cecil in these seeds, haven't we?
You know, it does kind of feel like that. It's almost as if he's the protagonist.
Yeah, something like that. It's pretty crazy. I'm not complaining. Cecil, unabashedly my favorite character in the game, but these Fabul Gauntlet seeds particularly favor Cecil just because you see so much more of the game than you would in some of our more traditional flag sets. You get a lot more pulls from that, from the more treasure pulls from those empty key item spots, which have some really nice weaponry for Cecil in there. So you're more likely to end up with a really good holy sword in your inventory at some point, and that's just going to make Cecil really shine in the Zeromus fight.
But in the meantime, we are shining through the Luge fight, or at least Neongrey is handling theirs with ease. Bursik put all of his characters in the back row, which is good for a defensive stance, but when you've got these physical melee damage dealers, it has its drawbacks.
Yeah, you can utilize jump with Kane to sort of get around him being in the back row, but yeah, Yang, there's just really, outside of some very esoteric glitches, no way to get him doing back row damage, and he's just going to suffer back there with his already kind of mediocre damage. And Neongrey is through, going to give us a peek at what items are on the back of Hobbs here. Oh, thanks for the heads up, Scala.
And Bursik lucked out a little bit by getting that Kane jump while Luge was doing the poison. That's going to save a little bit of Tella's MP doing the heals, if he decides to do that. Tella's not exactly sitting on a lot of MP, ever. So you want to be a little conservative with that if you can.
Yeah, there was a Soma drop on the back of Hobbs, though, so the option is on the table to drop that on Tella and get some Medio action after Mount Ordeals if you're so inclined. Already requests in the chat for the Soma drop on Kane. Kane does need MP, doesn't he?
I mean, I know the game is completely not designed or structured around this notion at all, but I always liked how FF6 everyone can cast magic. I want Kane to do a spell. Just once. I want to see Sid cast Flare.
If you play the After Years, Kane actually gets a pretty useful spell list. He actually learns Blink. And Bursik finishing up on Hobbs as well, while Neongrey sort of doubling back and going through Damsian Castle here. And Bursik's going to be the first person into the Antlion Cave. Wouldn't be surprised to see Neongrey in there immediately after him.
Yep, using one of those tents that our runners get as part of their starter kit. At the beginning of every run, you get a handful of cures, tents, other essential healing items, just to make sure you don't get stuck in too bad of a spot.
Yeah, as somebody that despises shopping, those starter kits are a godsend. Just having all of those like necessary healing items right from the get-go, so you can just put off the inevitable dreadful shopping until you absolutely need to. There's a power staff actually there in Antlion Cave. Not a bad way to get a little bit of damage out of Tella by slapping that on him.
Yeah, and some Charm Claw to double up Young.
Yeah, runner's very much in sync here. So far, this seed has really been straightforward into what it wants you doing and what you really can feasibly do at any given moment. So we might see something here from Antlion that might cause a little bit of divergence, but for the time being, yeah, it's going to be a pretty straightforward events here for both of our runners. Not seeing anything else amazing out of Antlion outside of what we've seen in that Charm Claw and Power Rod, or excuse me, Power Staff.
Yeah, Bursik swapping off a dagger that Kane had for that Drain Sword. You know, not a terrible idea. It does reduce some of your stats, but it comes with the healing when you're hit. So.
Oh, and Invenerable with the raid as well. Welcome everybody from Invenerable stream. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. Ready for some late night free enterprise, and there's Water Hag, so Antlion's free tonight.
You know, it's always nice to get some words of encouragement to start your run off. 9 minutes in, and that reminder to believe in yourself and be strong and punch Water Hag.
Yeah, usually Kane doesn't need much of a reminder to be strong. He's pretty good at doing that on his own. And there's a package that's potentially the third character looking for. And also a boss check behind there. Probably not one that our runners are going to want to immediately look at, considering the time invested there, but it is on the table as a potential boss check to keep in the back of their minds going forward.
Yeah, the time investment is significant, but you've still got 2 character-based objectives and a boss-based objective. You're early on, so you're not too worried about the actual fight. I would, honestly, I would pick up a character. I think Bursik is taking the strat that I would.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you here, especially depending on what the character is. We've got Kane, we've got Young, so we're halfway to a decent party. If there's a solid character there, I would probably agree with you and go through it and take that character. This is where we're starting a divergence here. It looks like Neongrey is going straight for Fabul, whereas, yeah, it might be Bursik going to take a look at that package.
And in the process, hitting up the shop, finding some illusions and some silk webs. Pretty handy equipment.
Absolutely, yeah, really nice to find those illusions early. They can really mitigate the danger of a lot of really, really dangerous fights. So always good to have a stack of those in your inventory. Silk webs maybe see a little less use than illusions, but you always want to have at least one on hand for that Zeromus fight. Boy, that was a quick check in the Kaipo bed. I did not see who that was.
I think that was Cecil. I think that was Dark Knight Cecil.
Was it? Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So Sand Ruby just became very useful.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's no mode on all three of our objective characters. We just got to find that tower key and then find where our not as nope rope is hiding out. And we got a demon wall in Fabul as Bursik is going on a shopping spree.
And Chad asking if Get Cecil is one of our objectives. That does mean either form, Dark Knight or Paladin, because they end up both being the same character. If you clear ordeals without Cecil in your party and then go back and find him, he will be a Paladin. And with this flag set, I believe we only have one duplicate character throughout the entire game. So this is why I say the Sand Ruby is pretty valuable. Not definitely required, but probably required.
Yeah, there could be a way around it. We could still see another Cecil somewhere else in the seed. It's not entirely likely. It's definitely leaning towards required Sand Ruby, but we still haven't seen everything this seed has to offer.
But we might see the Eblin Caves soon because we got the hook off of the Fabul Gauntlet.
Ooh. So we might have a hook seed on our hand. Now, there's still some overworld spots left to check. We have not seen Ordeals, and we have not seen Baron Inn. So the Magma Key could still be floating around there, but it's definitely starting to look a little like a hook seed. And that is a particularly trolly place for the hook to be. I know Rivers is a huge advocate of putting off Fabul so you don't double dip. But if that ends up being the route you need to take to the underground, well, no doing that this time.
Afraid not. Although I guess the one advantage of having to take the hook route, if our runners do have to take it, there's bosses on the way. And until we find Leviathan, we have to boss hunt. So...
yeah, right you are, but this is not looking like an extremely powerful team right now. This team could definitely have some trouble if there are some particularly trolly bosses waiting for them on the hook route. So if that hook ends up being the way to get to the underground, it'll be very interesting to see how our runners tackle it.
Meanwhile, we'll see if Bursik has an easier time handling the demon wall. And we'll get to see what Neongrey has to face as they climb Mount Ordeals. Again, 3 bosses up here, only 1 key item, but we are going to get our Tella beefed up, and Cecil will turn into a paladin wherever he is.
Yeah, I really like this Ordeals play here from Neongrey. You already got that hook, not sort of banking on that hook, not keeping your options open here, playing the long game, and just wanting to get that Tella online, get that full spell list, make that Tella way more useful for as long as he possibly can be. So yeah, this is a really solid play here by Neongrey. It just occurs to me, did anybody actually peek the Mist Cave? I know we saw a Waterfall Cave check.
We have not seen the Mist Cave peak, no. That is obviously the first boss in the game canonically, so it will be a very easy fight, whatever is there.
Yeah, right you are. And quickly whittling down the tentacles here on Octomam. Every 3 attacks on Octomam removes one of the tentacles and slows down Octomam pretty substantially. So it's a fight that just gets easier the longer you fight it. Octomam's down, and Neongrey is going to be moving on to the back attack. And that is the Baron Guards Not a terribly difficult fight. That being said, I don't think Neongrey has a lot of those status J items. Yeah, looking through inventory here, looking to see how to deal with this. Gonna go with the Gaia Drum, not a bad call.
Yeah, just get that AoE down. Did not go and do the shopping and find the illusions. These guys do hit physically a little harder than you want them to, depending on the slot.
Yeah, and they have some nasty counters to both physical and magical, putting status effects on your party, which can kind of mess up with any strategy you might have.
Yeah, fortunately, Neongrey just got their 2 physical damage dealers piggied, which, that's fine. Piggy just messes with your ability to cast magic. Size is the rude one. It makes you more vulnerable and makes your attacks weaker.
Yeah, right you are. Oh, speaking of that miss check, looks like Bursik is going to give us the miss check. And just a freebie fight.
Bit of a shame. You would want to see a rough fight there, because then you know it's not going to be somewhere worse.
Absolutely.
And it is Edward at the package.
All right, yeah, that
Bursik
is...
doesn't want a bard.
Yeah, don't blame Bursik one bit. We know where Cecil is. The only potential value in going any further would be a 1 in a million Leviathan at Kaipo Inn. So yeah, we can put that on for us checks, absolutely. Neongrey is through the barren birds, and climbing Mount Ordeals today gives our runners the Earth Crystal. That's a pretty big item. It's not as big as it might have been earlier now that we know exactly where all of our required characters are. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that's a wyvern.
That is
up there.
That is frightening. Now, thankfully, not a terribly fast spot. Going to have time to get at least 1 Star Veil out, so shouldn't be a problem here. Yeah, and Wyvern's just going to end himself, but always that that heart-stopping moment when that silhouette appears.
Yeah, and for the Fabul Gauntlet, we are not modifying Wyvern's attack at all, so it is a Mega Nuke. You better be ready.
And CPU is going to be the second fight inside Baron Inn. Not a terribly difficult fight, but a pretty annoying one, especially when all of your damage is going to be physical based, like Bursik's is. Yang is going to be hitting for half damage in that back row, probably going to be using jumps on Kane to hit the CPU in the back. Should be able to get through this fight, but it's going to be a slog.
Yeah, it's often the case that CPU is free but tedious. You just take out the defender, heal through the mazer, and be patient. Yeah, this is normally the Yang or Karate slot in the vanilla, which means its physical attack is quite good. Thankfully, CPU doesn't do physical attacks, so even less to worry about.
All about that percent HP life. And fresh off Ordeals, looks like Neongrey is going to start doing shopping trips themselves.
Yep, get stocked up on those cures, get a few cabins on hand. That's probably all you're going to need in that department for the rest of the seed.
Yeah, absolutely. And while things are a little slow here, want to go ahead and give a big shout out to our restreamer tonight, Dathis. And Joe Fismano is sitting over there doing all the tracking. Make sure you show them some love, give them a follow. Really awesome of them to stay up late just so we can get all of this restreamed. Can't do it without you guys. Yeah, those jumps are doing respectable damage to the CPU in the back, so it shouldn't be too much longer before Bursik busts through here. And the damage being dealt out by those mazers very, very easily healed by Tella, even with that piddly little cure too. And then down goes the main body. Just got to get the bit. And there goes the bit. So Bursik is through. That's going to be a second objective for Bursik for picking up Sid, and 2 key item checks incoming. Oh, Dragoon Lance. That is good news for Kane.
Yep, Kane just gets better every turn. So from here, head on over to the Village Mist. Make sure you go in the back way so you don't pick up an Edward on accident. And see what our secondary reward was.
That would be the worst thing. Would have to sit through a cutscene for Edward right now. Unless you're actually good at Edward strats, in which case more power to you. Well, I'm not touching that stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't equip the spoon here, so the best and most enjoyable use of Edward is not available to us. So we just have to go with being incredibly overpowered at the final boss, if you know what you're doing. Just that. Yeah, Bursik is going to hit a little bit of shopping, a little bit of inventory cleanup, keeping things steady on that front, and probably going to make the move over to Ordeals right after this. You're in the neighborhood, it's the right call from here.
Yeah, Ordeals just has so much value in these seeds in particular. We know that the Leviathan, of course, that you're looking for isn't there. But still, yeah, you're going to get your Tela online. The Cecil that you have to find at some point, if it's soon enough, you'll have him online, get him ready to go, especially if you find some good weapons for him. So yeah, just so much value in that Ordeals play. And question in chat, yes, we did have a Soma drop. Was from one of the earlier chests. I believe both of our runners have gotten it.
Yep, we found one out in the wild on Mount Hobbs. We saw them in the Silveria item shop, I believe it was. So we can stock up if our runners want to spend the money on that as well.
That's probably one of the biggest flexes you can do in this game, is have enough money to buy Soma drops at the store.
Yeah, it's not quite apples, but it's still a flex, and honestly, it's still pretty useful. Depending on how long you're carrying that Tela, that could be a pretty good grab.
And Bursik's getting that Sid back row glitched, throwing a poison axe on him. So I had an Earth Hammer too, so you can swap out that equip if he needs a little bit of AoE damage, so that's always good. And it looks like Neon is going to give us our glance at what Mama Rydia's got for us today.
So very good sword, but it is not progression.
Not progression, but the arsenal for Kane keeps growing. It's also, since you've already got the Dragoon Lance for Kane, the defense sword definitely better, but if we can get that Sand Ruby quick, that's an excellent sword for Cecil. And yeah, considering the accuracy boost on the defense sword compared to any of Kane's lances, you can honestly consider the defense sword Kane's ultimate weapon. Neongrey Pekin sees the Edward, decides, nah, not about that.
Nah, this is going to be a move over to use that Earth Crystal, run into 2 more character slots. We basically know we're not going to see anyone important there, but key item, boss checks, still a valuable play.
Yeah, definitely, especially if you can get a strong character like an Edge or a Fusoya that can really take the bite off of that Ebelin Cave play, if that indeed has to be the only route to the underground.
Bursik not really having any trouble up here on Ordeals.
Rune bangles for sale inside of Troya, though, and Neongrey picking up a couple of those. Very, very accessory for your spellcasters.
Bursik gets to deal with the tiny sage. And seeing the downside of it, again, when you're tiny, you get hit hard.
And here's the big fun of the Earth Crystal here, is getting to cash in that Troya Vault. Let's see if there's anything fun in here.
Honestly, pretty middling.
Yeah, Dragoon Helm probably the nicest thing in there, but it looks like they're already Kane already has one. So Kane says, no thanks, I'm good. Pass that down to Sid.
Yeah, I guess the crystal gauntlets will be good for Cecil, but I think that's the only major thing out of this.
Yeah, a couple of on-use damage items that are probably a little bit past the point of usefulness at this, unless they run into like a Kelkabrainer or something where you want to spread as much damage around as possible.
Let's see how Bursik handles the Wyvern Scare. Don't know if he has Star Veils on hand. He does.
Yeah, should have at least the couple that come in the starting kit. Just true. For just such a situation as this. And very nicely, this spot with about 1,000 HP, Wyvern does just enough to off himself. See, this scene is starting to look a little scary on the boss front. We've seen a lot of the very easy bosses in early spots, which means there's some real nasty stuff to occupy the higher level spots that might give our runners some trouble. I'm starting to think that if this ends up being a hook seed, that path to the underground might be a little on the terrifying side.
Absolutely. I think we're down to one, maybe two of what people would consider free bosses, and I'm counting Dark Knight Cecil in that list, which is not always exactly free.
Yeah, if they do run into the Pain Man, they've got a decent party for it between Sid and Yang, who are giant HP sponges, and since you only need to absorb 3 Dark Waves from Dark Knight Cecil in order to get through that and trigger the storyline ending, those are the 2 party members you want to see if you run into an unexpected Dark Knight Cecil. But yeah, it's they might have a fight on their hands here. This will be fun to see. And I believe, was that another defense sword from Flame Dog?
That was another defense sword from Flame Dog.
Gosh, now you really want to see that Sand Ruby as quick as possible. Get that Cecil in your party, throw a defense sword in his hand, and just have the 2 Baron Bros start wrecking house. All right, about to get a look at the Magus Sister spot here. Oh, there's a Dwarf Axe. That's a back row glitch for Kane.
Yep.
And it's in Rydia's house. Okay. So big payoff there for Bursik for checking that. That's the only weapon in the game to get the back row glitch set on Kane.
Yeah, we are not going to see Neongrey head over there. They've already done all their mischecks. No real reason to go back. And that's a bit of Baigen.
Yeah, Baigen never a slouch of a fight. So yeah, it looks like, okay, yeah, gonna reset out, take the Soma drop route. So now it's all gonna be just protecting the old man until he can finish channeling that Meteo spell. Don't blame him here. Don't blame them here. Baigen puts up that wall that Meteo can bypass. It's just a way to just delete this fight and move on. Kind of appropriate to use Meteo strats here, considering this is almost canonically where Tella does it.
Yeah, we're pretty close. I don't know how many circumstances you can do a French vanilla Meteo, but here we are, I guess.
That's a wonderful thing about free enterprise is it pulls up situations that you get you get a little Meteo as dessert.
Yep.
Have a little Meteo as a treat, as Invenerable says.
But a little was not enough to knock Baigen all the way down.
Yeah, there's a lot of HP in this spot because you have to keep in mind that this is using the sum total of all three of the Magus sisters. And it is distributed, since there are 3 targets here, but it's going to be distributed more. Those arms are going to have far fewer HP than any of the individual Magus sisters would. So yeah, even though you are penetrating that wall there, there's still a hefty chunk of HP on that middle portion of Baigen. Goes down there though, hopefully can get the arms before they do too much explosive damage here.
Well, that's not an optimal ending, but probably an acceptable one.
Yeah, you take it. Young misses out on a little bit of experience, but you're probably going to go full heal before the next fight anyway, so not the worst thing to happen.
Yeah, with those cabins, it's a quick full heal and recover. Even though you are getting to the point. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, Jofus Mano with the 5 gift subs to the community. Thank you very much. Jofus doing a wonderful job tracking tonight, so show them some love.
But what I was rambling towards is the fact that we're starting to get to where you consider what characters do you drop. You're going to get 2 in here, and you're already at 4, so decide who do you want to keep, who do you want to get rid of. What is your final party potentially going to look like? What are you going to steer towards?
Well, you got 2 defense swords. Here's 2 dragoons.
That's a good thing to steer towards, not going to lie.
and an edge.
Command of 2 swords.
Wow. Okay. That is a bruiser of a party right there. Neongrey did have a boomerang in their inventory, I think, still floating around, so able to get that edge back row glitched, no problem. Saying goodbye to the old man. Well, one of the old men for now. And whew, that is a melee heavy party. Could we maybe be seeing the fabled Quint Zerker here tonight?
It's not impossible.
I've got my fingers crossed. So now, as long as Neongrey can keep their party from betraying themselves over and over, that's going to be a very, very strong party. to bring into the hook route if that ends up being necessary.
Yeah, I think you still want another white mage, or a more dedicated skilled one. Bring in Rosa instead of Tella. So this isn't, to me, not quite looking like a final party, but it's looking like a pretty good one for now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is one that can get the job done right now. That Tella's just sort of providing utility with that full spell list. Not really bringing much to the table combat-wise, but you're at the part where you're doing enough damage that you can usually get most things done before major healing is a huge concern. So, but yeah, I would definitely be looking for a really solid white mage replacement at this point. I completely agree.
I just want to point out that Glare did 7,000 damage. That's a large number.
That is a very large number. Glare has a very, very high damage coefficient. So Glare does a lot of damage no matter where you are. But this spot in particular, yeah, that's really nasty.
It's actually turning into a bit of a rude fight for Neon.
Yeah, busting out some of some dart strats here, throwing the Drain Sword, and that's going to be enough to do it. So Neongrey is through, and we're going to get a look at what Tower of Zot has to offer, and whether or not we're going to have to go down the hook route. Everybody waiting with bated breath for the reveal of a life staff. And yeah, it's a hook seed, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a hook seed. And Bursik is not far away from getting the bad news himself.
Well, now we also still have not seen what character is on the hook route either. Nobody has actually even been into Eblin Cave yet. So, and in fact, yeah, Neongrey hasn't even looked at Mist Cave. So, gonna peek in, see King Queen Eblin, and then head over to Eblin, it would seem.
Yeah, as you were saying, sure, it's a hook seed, but this is a good party to take in and take care of it.
Yeah,
So
earlier it was
terrifying.
Exactly. Yeah, earlier it was looking a little dicey as far as traversing that hook route and getting down in there. Now, much better position than they're in. The only thing I would be worried about is what you mentioned earlier. We really don't have a solid, dedicated white magic user. So if it ends up being a slugfest at either the King Queen Eblin spot or the Rubicante spot, it could get a little difficult for our runners. Probably want to stock up on those illusions just in case. And yeah, we'll see what Upper Babel has in store for us.
And Bursik doing that back row glitch, as you mentioned earlier, getting both of the canes kitted out with that dwarf axe before going more on the spears route, using the Gungnir and the Dragoon, leaving those defense swords on the side.
That's interesting. Bursik did do the Flame Dog chest and got the second defense sword, right? I think I saw that. Yeah, interesting that would choose not to use those. I could be wrong, but my understanding is the defense swords are just a straight up upgrade from either of those spears. Oh no, here they come.
Yeah, I know there's a thing around using spears with jump, and that improves them in some way. I'm not an expert on that stuff naturally. So if Bursik is around my level of familiarity, which is enough to play well, but not knowing every nuance, you might be thinking, spears pretty good. Gonna get the
Yeah.
job done.
Yeah, especially in say Final Fantasy V, you got a damage multiplier from using a spear with jump. My understanding is that is not the case in this game, that you do the same damage with jump regardless of your weapon equipped. Someone a little more familiar with the game mechanics might correct me if I'm wrong there. But that's my understanding at least. Ooh, sirens available in Eblin Cave. That's big. That's a huge incentive to get through there and do a little mini grind before you start doing any of the bosses down there. Get your characters up to speed and sort of plow through the underground.
Oh yeah, and chat is agreeing with you that the jump spear bonus that's later Final Fantasies does not apply in this one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, as we're doing all that rambling, Bursik did clear out Rubicant. We'll get the life staff and have to start making the hook route.
Yeah, the hourglasses there for sale is also very nice, especially since we're about to get to that Mad Ogre chest in Upper Babel, and that's a really nice pit stop for experience if you can deal with that fight. Hourglass makes it pretty trivial. Since all of your damage is physical, those Mad Ogres have really nasty magic resistance. Shouldn't be much of a problem to plow through them, life glitch them all, and get a really nice XP boost right before 2 potentially nasty fights. And there's a mop.
Yep, there's a mop, and you know what? Bit of a white mage.
There you go. That's all the white mage you need as far as I'm concerned. You got a life staff already, so even though Fusoya doesn't exactly have the top tier willpower that someone like Rosa will, that life staff is more going to make up for it. He has maybe some MP problems in the very, very late game, but not anything you can't really get through at the moment. So yeah, goodbye Tella. We've got Tella ++ here.
Immediately we run into the Staleman down in the caves. Might as well throw that hourglass on.
Yeah, absolutely. Make this fight trivial. Get a life glitch out of it. Just sort of eke out as much experience as you can, because you never know how nasty these fights coming up are going to be.
And it gives you a little pit stop to take a look at what Fu actually has as far as spells so far, because we have not done enough fights to get him to full power.
Right, and both of those optional fights in the overworld were skipped by both runners. Nobody actually went in and did either of them. So that's 2 extra fights that are on the board to get Fu powered up if they were so inclined. That would get Fu to 1700, so that's just 2 away from full power. So looking like a pretty decently strong Fu at this point.
Absolutely.
Ooh, Artemis arrows. Always nice to have those on hand. That plus the Dragoon Spear could make the egg grind very much more palatable. Though by the time they get to eggs, Fu will probably have some way to deal with it in one spell, so that's kind of inconsequential, I suppose.
Probably, yeah. We are getting a look at Fu's spell list. So far, we saw Float, we see Meteo, we see a good party set. I don't think we saw Nuke, but I think we have enough to be pretty valuable.
Yeah, that virus will do plenty of work for these upcoming fights here. Nuke and Quake are the biggest things you're missing here, but most importantly, you've got a solid list of white magic spells here to be able to complement this incredibly bruiser-heavy party.
Yeah, I know in terms of, like, with random encounters, there are the Flan-type enemies that are very resistant to physical but weak to magic. You don't tend to see a lot of enemies like that in the boss pool. So unless we get an interesting gauntlet placement, having one strong magic attacker and 4 physical, that's fine. That's about what you want.
And Neongrey going in and dropping a save down here. And we are soon going to find out who is sitting on this King Queen Evelyn spot and how much trouble they're going to pose here. And the Mad Ogre is holding off for that very last chest. The very last chest before the boss. Neongrey going to take it and get that quick infusion of XP before going in and seeing what they're going to be up against. One of the rare places where Sid would have been nice to have here with his axes having that damage against giants here. But some very clever use of weak there to make the Mad Ogres more easily dealt with.
Yeah, these are great fights to use the life glitch to double up the XP that you get off of each one.
Plus, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have a rare drop of a Zeus Gauntlet, so that's always a possibility as well. Very, very much appreciated in this particular party.
Mm-hmm. Actually, is Fu the only one that can't wear them? I think Yang can't. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the best Yang can wear as far as strength goes is the strength ring. I'm not sure that he can wear the strength gauntlet. It shows how much I actually use Yang. Yeah, really nice levels there for everybody. And a white robe. Not a bad thing to throw on Fusoya here if you're going to be using him as a... Yang can use the Zeus. We're getting confirmation from chat. My mistake.
Okay.
I shortchanged Yang a little bit.
Well, I'm kind of with you on finding the strength ring, finding the crystal ring, throw that on him, call it a day.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around how you wear a gauntlet and claw at the same time. Like, that's a lot going on in your hands.
Carefully is the answer. He's a monk. He could do it. Don't worry about it.
That's true. He is much more practiced in the martial arts than I could possibly be. Never question the punch mage.
Maybe question that Dark Knight Cecil, though.
Wow.
We'll see if this is a safe spot for it. A little tense.
Yeah, just a little bit of healing on that Fusoya and should be able to get through it. Yeah, clenchy, yes, but definitely doable. Yeah, Fu showing his worth just as an HP tank here. There's Quake. That's a real good pickup for Fusoya. Now we've got solid AoE damage for this group. And let's see what Lunar Boss is. We've already seen Wyvern.
Oh, Bursik doesn't get the cure off in time, takes a wipe.
Oh, that is very unfortunate. Luckily, it's a pretty quick run back there, so maybe might do a little bit of party manipulation to make... Oh!
That's the bad noodle.
that is not the noodle we're looking for. Now the good news is if there was ever a Stonewall boss you wanted to have a bruiser heavy party for, it's Ogopogo. You don't want to be relying on magic damage when he's countering every magic spell with Blaze. But I mean, that's about the end of the good news.
For one, it's Ogopogo. For two, it's a slot that is doing meaningful physical damage. And for three, it's not Leviathan. We wanted Leviathan. We want the other noodle.
Now that being said, it looks like, looks like the damage is manageable here for Neongrey. It's going to be more of a matter of Fu's MP pool. It's very limited at 190. Using those Cure 3s, you're not as... I'm not sure if Fu just doesn't have Cure 4 or trying to conserve MP. But we'll see if Neongrey is going to be able to go the distance here.
Yeah, it looked like Fu did not have Cure 4 available.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, the only benefit for the Cure 4 would be Fu himself. Since that 1600 HP is a huge chunk getting taken off each time from the percentage base damage of the big waves. So we'll see if that catches up with him or not. Because, yeah, Fu is just not able to keep up with his own healing. Might start to become a problem. It's also going to be a question of does Neongrey have any ethers in their inventory?
And I don't think they do.
Yeah, I wasn't taking a look at all of the shop checks, but I don't recall seeing any for sale. Taking a chance here to get Yang back up.
Yeah, they were getting a bit lucky that Ogopogo was kind of focusing physical attacks on Yang. Just in the sense that, like, focusing it all on one character. It doesn't matter which one it is, as long as it was not Fu.
Exactly. Yeah, Yang is definitely the person you getting hit. He is very much designed to take hits. So yeah, if somebody's going to keep going down, the Punch Wizard, you could do worse.
Bursik, meanwhile, is using those illusions that he picked up earlier. You see Kane kind of shimmering and will be able to absorb hits without taking any damage if Ogo decides to take a swing.
Yeah, I like the use of the illusions because that's going to... Anyone with an illusion out, as long as they manage to keep up the status, the only damage they're going to be taking is the percent damage from the big wave, which is going to be way more manageable, way more predictable. So yeah, I do like the illusion use here. And Neongrey's still hanging in there. Looks like Fu is down to about 46 MP. So the tank is getting to the red.
Yeah, we're just about running on fumes on their side. Bursik is kind of two-manning this. Not going for the res on the 3 down party members, just Zerk and Kane and having a go.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy. You might be able to downrank to Cure 2s with just the 2 of them to keep them alive. But we'll see if this works out. Meanwhile, Neongrey is through, so that is a huge deal. Neongrey, the first one into the underground here, past that major roadblock, and that was the first try too, wasn't it?
Indeed it was. And notably, they got Fatal on their Foo. Bursik is going to get the same at the end of his fight. That's going to be nice to have with the egg grind as a replacement for coffins. So guaranteed that you're going to get the kill.
And it looks like the Kaipo guards up at the top of the tower.
Yeah. So we know we don't have to climb all the way up for a Leviathan fight. We might still have to climb all the way up for a key item.
Right. I still think probably Dwarf Castle is looking like very attractive here with 2 boss checks and 1 key item check. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the first major play Neongrey makes down here.
Oh, definitely. That's a pretty standard first play and a pretty smart one in this circumstance. You get those 2 fights. You get a character check. I don't know what you take at this point. And then the key item, bit of XP. Perfectly reasonable move.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. The deathly al dente got me.
That's a good one.
I was doing my best to ignore chat, but no, I have to give.
You can't ignore when chat just has the Wikipedia page of pasta types and a really good wordplay. You can't ignore that.
Ooh, cat claws for sale in Dwarf Castle. They're pricey, but that is the best weapon for Young.
Yeah, in a way, this is kind of when you're deciding, are you making that investment? Are you keeping Young around and trying to get him to be the best that he can be? And
yeah,
this shopping trip, I'm going to say Neongrey probably is.
Yeah, now I'm far from the best runner at this game, but at this point, I would definitely be looking at the long haul for Yang. I'd be looking at a very Berserk heavy, maybe even quads. Yeah, probably Quad Zerker for the Zeromus fight. And so yeah, I would personally probably be investing in those cat claws once the money was around. But ooh, Calcabrena, that should not be a problem for a Quake equipped Foo.
Nope, that is perfectly vanilla, and our party is perfectly not vanilla.
And Bursik is through as well with his 2-man strat for the Nope Noodle. And both our runners now have underground access and cracking the seat open just a little more.
And Neon quickly demonstrating for the viewers that the cows do not have the boss bit, and the Brennas do. So Hourglass only works on the back.
Still a very, very good way to make sure that just in case something goes terribly wrong, you won't be waking up the big doll. And there go the cows.
And that's our nuke and our burst. I didn't realize that Foos didn't have burst yet.
Yeah, it was one of the things that kind of made the drag on it. Was, you weren't getting berserk damage out of any of those frontline fighters. And that is a Palom. Yeah, Neongrey not interested.
And that is a plague.
Yeah, not a threatening fight at this juncture. This is not a very high HP spot. I'm not even sure if Neongrey is going to need to bother manipulating the count. Might be able to just power through on just raw damage.
Well, that nuke will definitely help. It's high damage and low cast time.
Is there anything a nuke won't solve?
I feel like, yes, there's many things that a nuke will not solve.
Hupfin, is there anything that a nuke won't solve?
I'm not a wizard. I don't know. I don't have this power.
Good old Rock. Nothing beats that. Anyway, Bursik is into the trying to fight.
That's Medio.
And Neongrey chasing a slowly moving hand. We're about to get a peek at what is around Luca's neck here this evening. Ooh, tower key.
A required tower key on top of it.
Yes, indeed. So that just leaves one objective unaccounted for, and that's where the lesser noodle is.
I appreciate Rivers in chat making that reference because the extent to which I can be Lisa Simpson is frankly unsettling.
We can always count on Rivers for picking up and throwing out more Simpsons references. See, I really like this play here. Neongrey checking the trap chests. They're very easily to deal with, especially if you have a lot of burst damage. Yeah, that Yang having no problem one-shotting the alerts there. And there could be some really strong goodies inside of these chests. Hey, free Siren. Be a little more exciting if we didn't already know where to buy them, but hey, free Siren.
You take that. Yes, at this point we are looking for Leviathan, no clue where it is, and we are looking for the Sand Ruby. That will get us our Cecil. That's all we need at this point, and some way to get to Zeramis.
Yeah, as close as we are to getting all these objectives solved, yeah, we still do not have a way to the final boss, so that is still up in the air. Rivers, please, we have to go to bed at some point.
Yeah, at least we know we don't have to do Giant for the character.
That's true.
Though those can be very rude.
And Bursik taking a little bit of time out to do some looting in Dwarf Castle itself. Lilithrod, not a bad pull there. Getting a little bit of extra wisdom on Fu for when you want your damage. Taking a long, hard look at that weapon. Probably doing some mental math as to how much all this is going to cost.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna head on out, probably head over to the tower that Neongrey is handling himself. This should be a relatively straightforward fight, and one more key item, hoping that it's Sand Ruby or Darkness Crystal at this point.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of divergence this seed. It's basically just been sort of spoon-feeding the routes the runners. Really isn't much call to do a lot different by them, just based on what the seed's been giving them. So it's really been the individual decisions and the way they've been handling the fights that's been the difference here. So they're still very, very close. They're both within the same dungeon right now. Neongrey with a slight edge, just being able to get through some of those fights just a little bit quicker, and that's really been the only difference here between the runners at this point.
And of course, as we say that, Bursik is deciding to take care of the super cannon first, finding Kanazo. This is a very low HP slot, so pretty good time to find him. And that will knock off objective number 2 from the list.
It's a very slight divergence, but we can still call it divergence.
I mean, technically. Yeah, you can see Kanaza's wave does damage based on his HP, and it did not do much damage because he didn't have much HP to deal with.
Yeah, when we were talking about scary bosses you can find in some of those later spots, Kagnaza definitely one of them. That's a darkness crystal on top of the tower. Now things get interesting.
There are plenty of bosses on the moon.
Yes, there are, and there are still a good few bosses left in the underground as well. You got the Feymarch bosses. Once the Luca key presents itself, you've got the boss in the sealed cave as well. So now you got to start thinking, when am I going to make that play to the moon? And is it worth to try to knock the Feymarch off before we go there? Now, if this item from the tower key is another thing like a Baron, like the Baron key or Twin Harp, something that would incentivize keeping the runners earthbound for more checks, it'll be very, very interesting to see how Neongrey decides to route this.
Yeah, you definitely want to only have to go to the moon once, just to spare yourself the cutscene and the animation and all that. But how much time do you invest in hoping that you can do that before giving up and admitting that the seed is making you bounce back and forth?
Yeah, exactly. And then ideally you want to go to the Feymarch Nunce, but that never ends up being the case. I've had some bad memories of the Feymarch recently.
I mean, there are 3 key items in there between the free chest and the 2 bosses.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the boss checks themselves. Either one of them could be could have a vanilla or French vanilla variety. But it's the Feymarch.
And it's the Legend Sword from doing the tower key.
So it'll get that key item count up, but it's not going to do much else besides that. We're starting to get to the point where I'm not even sure we keep... at this point I probably would keep Cecil around just because we've got a defense sword for him. But
yeah.
The longer it takes to recruit Cecil, the less and less likely you're going to be to actually take him into your final party.
Yeah, I think that's pretty true for most characters. I think Rosa and Fu are pretty strong exceptions. Although Rosa would depend on how much healing you have available in your party at the moment. But yeah, the longer you go, the more you're like, well, this is my party, and that is the Baron key, and I'm gonna have to live with those things.
Yeah, that is 3 bosses that key gives access to, and 2 potential key items. So there's more incentive to delay a moon check here.
We also saw coffins down in the Feymarch shop, so if you want to do an egg grind, you've got all the pieces. Even though you probably don't need coffins anymore. You're probably at a good enough level, honestly.
Yeah, plus, the only thing I think that's left in the pool that coffins would even be useful for is Dark Imps at this point.
I think so.
All right, moment of truth. Who's sitting on the throne?
Well, speak of the devil.
There's Dark Imps.
Along with a sparkle that is definitely not Leviathan.
And Neongrey wants none of it.
Yep, they're out of here. Gonna take that Baron key and head back up the surface.
And so now Bursik coming into the Feymarch here. We'll see if he makes a different decision here. If he sees those bosses and maybe tries to take out a Dark Imp and maybe get a key item that could change things, or if he decides to nope out as well, this could be a potentially huge divergence.
Yeah, because like we were saying, the imps, unless we're both misremembering, no boss bit would be vulnerable to hourglasses, fatal, the stuff that makes a potentially nasty boss fight potentially straightforward.
Yeah, precisely. And Neongrey playing my least favorite minigame,
Yeah, both of these runners at the point of having to manage the inventory substantially. That's another great part about making that decision on what your final party is going to be. You can start throwing away stuff that doesn't fit that party.
Yeah, always that feeling of, I don't want to throw away this Masamune. What if I have an edge? Well, at this point, you've got a pretty clear idea of who you're bringing to Zeroma, so you can start doing the selling. An employee training instructor, run validated for Neongrey. And look like gonna go check in on Yang so we can get a Shield of 1 check when we go back surface side and presumably do the Baron fights as well. Employee training instructor is what Tella is. It's basically Tella's job. Yeah, it's because they tell you what to do.
Smepty, how dare you?
They tell you what to do.
Smepty.
I'll be here all week, folks.
The chat is attempting to cast stop on Smepty.
That's fair. I don't have the boss bit, so that'll work. Going for the Dark Imp fight on BursikBadger. So if there's anything important behind this spot, this could be big.
Yep, just gonna have to make it past some pretty rude physical attacks before casting Stone, one-shot the imps.
Yeah, presumably Stone has a low hit chance, but no, just never tell me the odds on it.
Oh my, that is...
Wow.
That is how you get to Cecil.
Goodness gracious. That is huge for BursikBadger.
That is... yeah. Because we have already seen the duplicate character, so we know that we need that.
Yeah, this is potentially huge. Depending on how long it takes for Neongrey to come back to the Feymarch to check those bosses, Bursik might have just got an enormous lead here.
I don't blame Neongrey for skipping out on that. That is a slot with, as you saw, pretty high physical damage, and that's all the imps do. So if you're not confident in approaching that, if you don't realize that you can use things like stone or hourglasses, I don't blame anyone for stepping away and coming back later.
Actually, Grimnor, with a excellent point being brought up in chat, I don't know that Neongrey actually has scouted Kaipo. I think we only saw the scout on BursikBadger's screen. So yeah, Neongrey might not even realize that they're gated behind the Sand Ruby here.
That is very true.
Running into some D-Lunars here in the Asura spot.
Yeah, a little lighter on HP of the two slots, but still pretty brutal.
Yeah, being very careful not to use any direct attack here. as that's going to trigger the alternate AI script for the D-Lunars where they start bouncing viruses off themselves.
And they don't exactly need the viruses to do a lot of damage.
No, they do not. I believe that is a Dragoon Lance on Kane doing those jumps. So yeah, hitting very, very hopefully enough damage to get through this. Yeah, there's that that panicked mode when you're on the wrong magic screen, when you need healing, but you're on black magic and you're afraid to press B. I've been there plenty of times. Breath goes out, targeting the same character once, so Kane is still in here.
Oh, but Kane is the only one standing on... Nope, never mind. Bursik's down.
Not anymore. Yeah, that is just such an absurdly fast spot. Very, very difficult to get turns in there with the enemy going so fast. Oh, my body for Mylon on Neongrey's side, and we're going to get our look to see who the pretender to the throne is tonight.
Yep, they're going straight there. Going to leave the Odin spot for later.
Good discipline for Bursik here to cut his losses. I know it can be tempting to just kind of throw yourself over and over to fight to try to get it down. You know, realizing, okay, you know, I can do this probably better later. Let's just move on. There's other checks we can make. I can come back when I'm more collected, when I've got a better idea of how to handle this. So yeah, very, very strong judgment on Bursik's part there.
Yeah, and also just knowing where Cecil was, knowing your key items. There's only 2 key items that could block you at all, and that's Twin Harp and Luca Key. And Leviathan would have to be at one of those spots. Otherwise, you're probably in go mode.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, if I'm Bursik, I'm going to be wanting to try to get my eyes on as many bosses as possible and try to find out which one of them is Leviathan.
Well, we know the first 2 over in Baron are not going to be the case. Neongrey has cleared those out. Found Rydia, they said, no, we're good.
Yeah, a little too late to bring Rydia into the party here, but had a nice orange flavor. That's a nice color for her. Again, a rare check of the Baron weapon shop here.
Nothing special there, and a pink tail out of the Baron Castle. That's not going to be an adamant armor. It's going to be some other high-tier equipment. Don't know we're going to see that turned in.
Yeah, likely the only reason we'd see it turned at this point is if the rat tail comes up as well. There's been enough really good gear for this group that probably fishing for something off the pink tail isn't at the forefront of anyone's mind right now. And Odin tonight.
Valvulus. Oof.
We got 2 Canes, and if you're ever fighting Valvulus, 2 Canes are exactly what you want for it.
Yeah, but she is still a pretty rough fight. Pretty much no matter where she is.
Yeah, never fun to have to encounter her. Just an enormous amount of evasion when she's in that tornado form. The only way to get her out of it is to use Kane's jump attack, and she can really put the brakes on a magic heavy party if you can't get through that evasion and just start hitting. Nukes hitting for 1 is just the most depressing thing in the game.
And to say nothing of her physical attack in this slot, it took down Edge and Young basically in 1 shot. I mean, yes, She cast weak first, but she pretty much didn't need to.
Yeah, this is a bit of a slugfest here. Hopefully one more nuke and some attacks from Kane is going to be all Neon needs to get through this. Hey, 1 damage adds up if you just cast it a lot. Who needs quality when you've got quantity?
I choose not to make this argument tonight.
The one silver lining for Vivalis here is no multi-target, really. So Vivalis can only kill one character at a time. So as long as you keep bringing your characters up, you can generally weather the storm, as it were.
You on Bursik's side, that has paled him here and gone. He's gonna get the chance at Iridia. And probably say no thanks.
No, just gonna
his pigtail.
Just gonna look her in the eyes and say, "I'm getting rid of ya." Just a glass helm here, unfortunately. Be Bubkiss.
You know, we say that, you know, we're in the commentator booth as like the feel of what we're all trying to go for. Smefty, I think you should be glad that we're not physically in the same location.
That's okay.
I physically recoiled in my chair at that one.
Look, I haven't done commentary for Fabul Gauntlet seed yet in over 2 weeks, so you know I've got a lot of puns built up I need to get out. I'm sorry, folks. Okay, so now this is big. This is going to be Neongrey's first look at Cecil in the Kaipo bed. So this might change their approach to now that they know that they need to get the Sand Ruby as well.
Now, of course, they have no idea where the Sand Ruby is, so they don't know that they've left it down in the underground. Bursik knows that he wants nothing to do with Val at the Odin slot. Just resets on out of there.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, Bursik is just in scout mode, just going to take a look at these bosses, get his eyes on as many of them as possible, and just find that Leviathan. It's the only thing Bursik has left to the only key rather that needs to be put into place. And we're going to get the Sheila 1 check here. I believe this is our first look at Sheila 1.
No, didn't Neongrey visit and get the Murasame?
Oh, you're right. And more importantly, I'm wrong.
And just as important, Neongrey is going to raise the big whale and be ready for their trip to the moon.
So now this is interesting. If Neongrey is committing to the moon here, we know the Sand Ruby is required, and we know that that is in the Fey March. So assuming that Neongrey is going to full clear the moon once they get up there, this could start to get really nasty for them. If they get a quick clear of the moon and get back in time, then they might still be in this, but this is starting to look more and more like an edge for BursikBadger here.
Right now, I think Neongrey's best hope is that Leviathan is in Sealed Cave. And specifically, I say Sealed Cave because that's going to force them back underground as well. If it's at Cave Magnus, then okay, they have to come back to the Earth, but they're not going to get pushed down there.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. If Leviathan's on the moon, then Neongrey might be in trouble.
Unfortunately, after doing the moon bosses, getting through all of this, Neongrey will have a lot more levels. So they should feel a lot more confident in that Imps fight.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about, even if you get baited by the moon, it's such a significant time investment, but once you're done with the moon, you can pretty much take on anything else in the game. You don't have to worry about your grind. You don't have to worry about any bosses blocking you at this point. You've sort of, cleared all the trials, as it were, and you're sort of ready for everything else in the game. So it's the one silver lining to what could otherwise be a very unfortunate series of events.
There's a mom bomb at the Bahamut spot. Neongrey's not going to take the fight in hopes of finding the sand ruby. Going to bail out and head towards the subterrane.
So this is very interesting. If Neongrey is only looking at boss checks here, is not looking for key items, then, oh gosh, oh no, just heading back. Okay, heading over to the subterrane now. Okay, thought for a second they clicked on the crystal. I missaw it. But yeah, then that's looking better for them, because that means they'll get back to the Earth sooner and hopefully make that play in the Fey March sooner. But yeah, still a lot of potentially trolly places Leviathan could be. Could be behind that package. It could be on the giant still. Like there's a, we might not have seen all of the evil this seed has for us. Could still honestly, no, it could be there. And there could also be a key item behind the D-Lunars at Asura that is hiding behind. So yeah, there's still a lot of potential badness here.
Yeah, both of our runners saw Edward at the package and just bailed out. So there's no knowledge advantage or disadvantage on that front. There is a Rosa on the moon that Neongrey is not going to bother with, even though frankly that is one of the best palettes for her.
Yeah, really, really sick looking palette. Big shout out, of course, to Scala Kitty, who has created, I believe it's 12 alternate palettes for every character at this point. Those are not randomly generated palettes. They're all handcrafted by Scala. And a lot of them are references to other Final Fantasies, other pop culture. A lot of heart put into those. So big shout outs to Scala for that.
We get our look at our first subterranean boss on Neongrey's side. Is the Elements.
Not a particularly difficult boss. I don't think there's going to be much that can give a lot of pause to Neongrey at this point. Very, very strong team. So shouldn't be. It should just be a matter of time getting through the subterranean. I can't imagine there's going to be much that's going to wall them at this point.
Yeah, there are tricks you can do with Elements to kind of get around the script that ships from Mylon to Valvalus and et cetera, et cetera. I don't think this is a situation where you're really terribly concerned about that when you're dealing with mostly physical damage. I see Bursik doing a bit of a Ryu grind.
And by my count, only at 9 key items. 1, 2, 3, 4. Recounting here because I'm really bad at math. No, yeah, only 9 key items, so not getting the double experience here. I'm not sure how much I like this. I guess he wants to slingshot that Cecil. He actually did pick up the Cecil, whereas, so yeah, that might be the idea here. So maybe not a full grind, maybe just doing one fight to get a ton of levels on Cecil here.
33 of them, to be precise.
Yeah, a mere 33.
A mere 33. And a mere white robe coming out of that elements fight.
Yeah, it's 2 white robes in a party with only 1 mage. Not the greatest. And no, Bursik wants more than 1 King Ryu fight here.
That's just giving Neongrey a bit of time for them to run down the subterranean, get towards those boss checks, try and get more information, try to get more value.
Yeah, I can definitely understand the thought process here for Bursik. You know, we're going to commit to checking all these spots on the moon. We want to make sure we're ready for anything. But when you're not that reliant on mages here, except for Fusoya, who already knows every spell, you don't really have these specific benchmarks that you really are aiming to hit with a grind, like, say, getting Palom up to the level to have Nuke or something like that. So, you know, I might wait until I have that 10th key item before I commit to a grind like this. And yeah, it looks like he's just doing the 2 fights and then noping out of there. So not a fully committed grind, just a little bit of experience on everybody.
Yeah, we'll see if this is a dropout to just heal up and get back at it, or if he's going to make an actual move into the subterranean proper, or actually back into that cave, because I don't think he went deep enough to Bahamut to see that was Mom Bomb there. But no, gonna stick with the subterranean plan.
We've got Wyvern Spot coming up over on Neongrey's side.
Oh, Bursik did check as well. Okay, I know Neongrey checked, but I didn't see that Bursik did as well.
And a Mylon of a different color.
Bursik is taking that Rosa, so gonna have to do another bit of slingshotting to get her up to speed.
Yeah, you gotta
But
wonder
that
is
gives
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that gives you 2 white mages in your party. It's a lot of protection.
Yeah, and now I'm kind of wondering if he's taking Rosa to actually use a white mage, or just taking Rosa as an anchor and just killing her off and throwing a curse ring on her. Doing some inventory management. Looks like he might actually be gearing her up here.
That's looking proper geared. Skipping the curse ring. So yeah, he wants that safety of 2 white mages.
Yeah, hard to blame him. You know, Rosa is such a phenomenal character to fall back on. Just has the HP to survive big bangs very easily. Has very potent white magic, can even contribute to the offense in the end game with that white spell. So yeah, can't blame someone for wanting to put her in their end game party, even this late in the game as it is.
Yeah, well, see Mylon Z not paying out, just giving us power robes. So, hey, that's levels, that's a useful item. Doesn't get Neongrey closer to 10, and doesn't get them what they know they need, namely the Sand Ruby.
Yep, and we have 3 checks left on the moon before it becomes apparent that Leviathan is somewhere very, very...
Yeah, now I'm thinking like if it ends up being, at the Sealed Cave or at the Twin Harp, and our runners don't get it here. Like at that point, Neongrey has to go back to the Fey March. There's not really any other option.
Yeah, that would essentially be the only thing. I mean, it would be Bahamut, Mom Bomb there. Nobody actually fought Mom Bomb. Oh, speaking of Bahamut, no one actually fought Mom Bomb at the Bahamut spot. So there would still be that lingering question of what key item is there. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, this spot is slow enough that they're gonna get Star Veils on everybody. Then just let Bahamut do his thing.
Yeah, enough HP though that it's going to take several Mega Nukes or Mega Nuke and some work from the characters themselves to get through Bahamut here, but a massive amount of XP at this spot. So this will be a nice nice level infusion for Neongrey's team here. And here's the slingshot for Rosa. Watch those spells pile on.
Okay, yeah, I knew this slot was going to be a little slow. I didn't realize just how many turns Neongrey was going to get. They might not need to worry about the nuke.
Yeah, Bahamut's just bewildered by all of these berserkers cutting in line and stealing his ATV spots. Hey, I need to count down. And there he goes.
The Twin Harp and the Luca Key right next to each other.
Wow. Oh, goodness.
That's comedy, folks.
So but what do you even say to that? That is all the potential bosses that could be behind key items are now in Neongrey's inventory. Yep, am I missing?
You are in go mode. You just have to hunt down the boss.
Yes, this is just a hunt now. And a little bit of a high five here as both runners into Odin at the same time. Bursik is out. Bursik just wants to find bosses at this point. And gosh, if Bursik is only looking at bosses and misses out on both the Twin Harp and the Luca Key, and Leviathan happens to be one of those bosses,
that flips it.
Yeah, the turns could table right there.
Or not.
Or never mind. Leviathan's right there, and Bursik is in an excellent position. Or nothing we talked about can happen. Leviathan is at his older, nastier brother's altar the whole time, doing his best Ogopogo impression, but we're not fooled. So this should not be much of a problem for Bursik. That's going to be go mode for him, and as luck would have it, he is right next to Zeromus.
Yeah, so that Dark Imps play down in the Fey March was massive.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be the deciding factor of this seed. And while it's not over just yet, the writing is on the wall for Neongrey. This is Bursik's race to lose at this point. And we did get a blank text glitch for Neongrey, ended up being the spoon. One of the rare parties that can actually make use of that with the spoon flag off, since Edge can indeed throw it. All right, so Neongrey is headed to the Ogopogo altar, is about to enter into the Leviathan fight themselves. Yeah, unless the first thing they decide to do after downing Leviathan is go right back to the Fey March. And even then, time is quickly of the essence because Bursik is exactly where he needs to be to end this seed.
Yeah, Bursik, really, like, Neongrey needs Bursik to have some problem with Zeromus, and most of his party is in good shape. That Rosa is still a little under-leveled. We've already seen him do grinds. He might do more grinds. That probably won't buy enough time.
Yeah, he's in the right position to do it. I wouldn't be surprised to see him throw down a couple more Sirens, get some more levels on his team here. There's Cure 4 on Rosa. That's a big benchmark right there. Let's see what Bursik decides to do. The big question is, if you're a Bursik here, do you feel like you're ahead, or do you... because right now you're thinking, I made this play on Dark Imps, but Dark Imps is, a fight that can be cheesed very easily. Did Neongrey do the same thing? Is Neongrey in the same position that I am? Because these runners have been basically at the same spot, minus just a couple of minor routing differences here and there. They've been playing a very synchronous game. The only major difference being Bursik did that Dark Imp fight and Neon didn't. So you got to be wondering what Bursik feels right now as far as his position relative to Neongrey.
And this is where you get to that point that you hit with tournaments where you want to know your opponents. If Bursik knows that Neongrey is or is not likely to do with that Imps fight, either just knowing their skill level, their strategies, and all that stuff, that is what tells you, like, I'm feeling ahead because I did a thing that I don't think my opponent would do, and it paid out. But we are just third round of the Swiss round. We have a surprisingly large community of runners here. I don't know that a lot of our runners know each other to that level yet.
Yeah, this is our first major event that has been specifically a one-on-one event, and that really changes the dynamic of how you approach the game. Because in normally when you do, say, four-person free-for-all and first place isn't exactly on the table, you can still shoot for that second and third place. Here it's all or nothing. You have to you're either getting a win or a loss, and there isn't a second place, there isn't a third place. So you've got to make these decisive decisions, keeping in mind what you think your opponent's going to do, where you think they are, how ahead are you, how behind are you, and it can be incredibly nerve-wracking. If I'm in Bursik's position right here, my hands are just, completely sweaty, mom spaghetti all the way.
And there's also been the whole factor, as we've seen in the first 2 weeks, where, you're an hour 45 in. For some randomizers, for some games, you have a consistent sense of how long a seed is going to take. So you can say, oh, I'm at this time point and I haven't seen a dot done, something's up. We've had seeds that were like an hour 10 for both runners, and ones that took almost 3 hours. There's no real consensus on, like, at what point do you start feeling nervous just based on time alone?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And that really comes down to knowledge of the objectives that are on the board, and how many of those wild card boss hunts are there. Those really can be some of the major elements that extend these seeds, are trying to hunt down those singular bosses. We've had plenty of seeds that have had no boss hunts on them, and then okay, Nose to the Grindstone, this is going to be high execution, high skill, very quick thing, and then If you've got those boss hunts then there, it's more of a longer, okay, I've got to make sure I'm doing the most efficient rounding possible. I got to make sure I'm getting my eyes on as many bosses as quickly as possible in the most efficient way possible. Ooh, Seuss gauntlets for sale on the Cockle shop.
And apples.
Oof.
And the ribbon, for that matter.
Cockle is very good to our runners here.
And a defense sword, but like we found two. So
yeah,
whatever.
We've had our fill of those. And here we go. Bursik is making the play to the Lunar Core to face off against Zeromus.
Where we will get to answer tonight's most important and most favorite question: whose butt are we kicking?
If you got those Z flags, raise them high. It's butt time. So if you are just joining us and are a little new to Free Enterprise, the Zeromus fight is the only boss fight in the game that is not randomized. Proper capstone to any Free Enterprise seed that isn't, giant percent or objectives percent, but we don't talk about those. So in order to keep the randomization spirit alive, the community has created an enormous backlog of alternate sprites for Zeromus. They don't change Zeromus in any way other than what he looks like when he's revealed by the crystal. Many of those are done, again, by community member Scala Kitty, who picks and chooses and handcrafts a lot of the sprites that we see. So again, lots of love to Scala for all that she does to make this randomizer as special as it is.
I just realized Bursik is one character switched from the vanilla Final Party. If he had Rydia instead of Fu.
Yeah, this is the alternate timeline where he just brings Fu to the final fight. Yeah. And that pigtail was in the Samine, so that's actually pretty good gear there.
I do not know what that is. It's chibi. Apparently.
That is a chibi Zemus.
That's very good.
That is the most adorable Lord of Darkness I have ever seen in my life.
I appreciate and approve.
Oh, he just wants his hatred to take over. He just wants to brainwash Goldbed. That's all he wants to do. I don't know where you found this, Scala, but this is phenomenal. But yeah, should be very standard hybrid strats here from Bursik. We'll probably see 3 Zerkers from his melee fighters. We might see some reflected nukes from Fusoya. Rosa handling the lion's share of the healing. Very safe, very straightforward strategy. And we've got the Z sprite, and Neongrey is going to be giving us the music as well.
Yeah, that is another thing that gets randomized in every seed is the music that Edward plays for the Twin Harp. Since, it doesn't actually matter what he plays, as long as he plays something, we make sure to give you plenty of somethings.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of something. Some of them sound very, very nice on the MIDI harp instrumentation. Always a pleasure, always a chat favorite to find out what's playing in Cave Magnus tonight.
Yeah, even though we know this is not correct, this is not a bad play from Neongrey. You know that this is going to be a manageable, safe fight when you're at these levels.
Yeah, and you're looking for a key item. You're looking for because you still need that sand ruby, and you're looking for a boss as well in the form. Oh no, you're not looking for the boss. Never mind. You did find Leviathan. Just look for that key item. So yeah, totally sensible play considering what Neongrey knows. But fortunately, we know it's the wrong play.
Well, if they're lucky, they'll stumble upon the pass on the way and be able to get to this adorable source of evil just that much faster.
But we will let this ride out and let Edward give us a little bit of performance here.
Yep, it is the absolute classic Zelda overworld.
Yeah, not much of a major change in instrumentation. Sounds pretty accurate to the original game.
Yeah, hardly needs it.
And down goes Antlion. And we might see a reset out of here once Neongrey sees that there's nothing of value here.
Yeah, even a white lance isn't worth it.
Yeah, if you're Neongrey right now, you're probably starting to panic. This is probably the point where you realize that, yeah, you've missed something, and there's a strong potential that your opponent didn't.
But they are going to ride that moon find as far as they can. So we're going to see another reset going through the sealed cave.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes total sense at this point. You know, you went to the moon. You've got to play that. Like, this is the play I made. Mm-hmm. I've got to see it through to the end. You know, if I abandon it right now, then I'm just going to play on somebody else's terms. With time already lost, so makes perfect sense.
And time already called. That's BursikBadger done.
GG's. You get the official time here, but Bursik is going to move to 2-1, going into round 4 of the tournament. I think we're joined by Bursik right here. Bursik, GG.
Thank you. Also, I want to immediately apologize for not checking the employment dwarf. I didn't even go to Tamra.
It's okay. Well, Rexroll will give you a stern finger wag, but we will accept the run. So yeah, the big play was Dark Imps doing it and grabbing that sand ruby. Definitely check this VOD out. You and Neongrey were synced up for about 90% of this run. The only major thing you did different was you checked Dark Imps and Neongrey didn't.
Oh man. And Stone availed me there, unlike in was it in Dwarf Castle, I think? Like, Fu threw out a stone and missed everyone.
Yeah, I used to rely on Stone a lot, and then I went and the actual hit rate of Stone, and I never want to look at hit rates again because they. But yeah, how did you feel about like the way this seed sort of kind of threw the route towards you, and it was more of kind of an execution thing?
I was really worried after Zot, because that was a total waste of time. Aside from, I think I held on to Edge for the rest of the run from there. So I felt like as soon as I finished that, and I think it was, I don't even remember what I got out of it. Like, it was just like, oh, this was garbage. I just wasted like 10 minutes.
Life staff, I believe it was.
Life staff. Okay, well, I used it at least.
There you go.
The hook route bosses felt surprisingly clean, despite having the wrong weapon on Kane for the fight. Realized halfway through, wait, that's ice. Like, that's Ice Brand. Crap. But yeah, nothing too bad. I mean, giving you a foo right before DKC is generous. I'll say. If I hadn't had him, that might have been rough. Or if I had gotten him and not done like ordeals, that might have been pretty nasty.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you had some HP tanks in the form of Sid and Yang, but that is a hard-hitting DKC spot, and even they couldn't stand up to it.
Yeah. I mean, if I wanted to level a little, I knew the ogre chest was right next to me, because there was only one left. But, but once I was through that, I'm like, I'm not touching that. I'm good. Let's go.
So yeah, when you was there ever a point where you felt like you were behind, or sort of what was your feeling as far as like compared to Neongrey? Like, where did you think you were?
I mean, like I said, Zot felt horrible. Like, oh man, like they're probably already down if like finishing the hook route right now, because I think that was the last overworld check. But after that, it was taking a gamble. Like you said, I got the Sandra out of Dark Imps. I knew that just left me with Leviathan, so I think I had like Luca Key and Twin Harp, which Luca Key and Twin Harp were the last two, like, this will unlock a boss items. But I just like blasted through the moon, just, resetting out of every fight. Like, just give me Leviathan, please give me Leviathan.
So, for comedy's sake, do you want to know where those two items were?
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Oh, you know, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I queued up some music. In case.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, right next to each other. But I didn't maybe, how much I was going to grind. Sirens and Hourglasses in the same shop for this flag set was amazing.
Yeah, especially since it's down path you had to go anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's always like, I'm looking for a boss. I've got weak. I could go giant and just try and plow through there. But Gold Dragons did me well.
So another thing I wanted to ask you about was you ended up picking up Rosa on the altar. What was sort of your thought process there? Did you just not feel comfortable with Fu as your only healer, or what was kind of going through your mind?
I knew I was going to be doing Zerg strats because Fu was going to be my anchor, and I had no Bacchus. Like, I needed a reliable Berserk, or that was gonna be a really slow, long Zeromus fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then, with that Palom in Dwarf Castle, like, serious indecision there. But,
Yeah.
You both went for the Bruiser Heavy Party, so you both made very similar decisions. I think the only difference that ended up making was Neongrey didn't go with Rosa and stayed with the four melee characters. That was the only time your parties differed. So you're similar minds there.
Yeah, the one thing I was thinking about was D-Lunars, which I obviously wiped to. If I had thrown out a wall, maybe the breath, that could have worked out. But I was worried about that since I was just attack heavy.
Yeah, how was the how hard of a decision was it to just sort of bail on D-Lunars instead of just keep throwing yourself at it?
I think, back in my week 1 game, I had a DKC at Leviathan, and I wasted a good 10 minutes there for absolutely nothing. So seeing, another, hey, I could do this, but it might take a little bit of work at Leviathan again was. And plus, at that point, I just needed to find the actual Leviathan. So I'm like, I'm just going to skip out. Hopefully this isn't, again, I think it was, even at that point, Luca and Twin Harp were my only key items I would have possibly been looking for.
Awesome,
So-
awesome. Oh, go right ahead.
If the Dark Imps, if using Stone on them had not worked out, we just saw for Neongrey that it didn't the first time.
Ooh.
Do you keep going back? Do you
Uh,
keep trying that, or do you pass on and come back later?
weren't coffins for sale in Fey March?
I believe
They were, yes.
So yeah, if Stone hadn't worked, I would have started just throwing those at them. Plus, I had hourglasses from Eblan Cave, so
Yeah.
any way I sliced it, that fight, I was going to win that fight.
Yeah.
I got lucky with the easy route.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, puts you at 2-1 in the tournament so far. Really strong position to be in going in four here. What kind of adjustments do you think you're going to make going into next week to sort of keep this going?
Oh man, I don't know. I back in like Highway to the Zenith Zone 2, like I wasn't doing well. I was, moon heavy plays that would not pan out, and against that sort of field, maybe just serious metagaming. So yeah, but wow, I'm thrilled. I made 2-1.
Oh yeah, you did fantastic tonight. You put on a really great show. Just really excellent play through and through. So GG on your well-earned victory, and good luck next week against a really solid,
Yeah.
really solid group of players. So you count yourself amongst them, and good luck in your next match.
Thanks.
Take care.
Okay.
That was BursikBadger winning tonight's match with a 154-36. He is going to go on to week 4 with a 2-1 record.
Yep, and as that was going on, Neongrey did take a wipe to the Dark Imps. Like I mentioned, not getting the stone to proc. Finally, they do get it to work. So they're going to get that Sand Ruby and be on track to take on Zeromus.
Yes, this is officially go mode. Just needs to go tap Cecil real quick and head on to Zeromus. They did find the pass, but they reset out of it. Didn't want to put the time in, so yeah, probably quicker just to walk through the moon than go through the boss fight. So
yeah, especially if that ends up being like the Fabul Gauntlet, which I'm pretty sure we didn't see and can be very long.
Yes, it can. So it looks like we'll be seeing Quad Zerker strats from Neongrey, which is always fun. I'm a big fan of the Berserker plays.
Yeah, I think that's one of, I guess, the major strats for Zeromus is just get a hardy number of physical damage dealers, get a bunch of wine, have a party.
Yeah, the best thing about the party is it makes get a little tipsy when it comes to turn order, just because of the way the ATV system is sort of cobbled together here in Final Fantasy IV. It can get clogged if you have the AI making all these decisions on who needs to go when. So the AI is making putting in the commands for you for the Bacchus wines. Things tend to get clogged up. The enemy doesn't get as many turns. I am doing a very, very rudimentary explanation of how that actually works. People who know the inner workings of how the ATB system works are probably cringing at me right now. The basic idea is that if you have the more characters you have berserked, the more you can delay the how many turns Zeromus is actually going to get, and increase your effective damage relative to the number of big bangs you're going to face. And yeah, if you like Zelda, we're about to get an encore from Bursik. That's true. Yeah, Scala Kitty is very, very good point. If anybody does, yes, if anybody claims to know how ATV works, they're either a cop or a witch. That's just how it goes.
Or worst of all, a witch cop.
Or a witch cop.
And on that note, Zelda music.
Beautiful segue there, up there. And to answer a question, Kat, does the question in chat, does the game even know how the ATB works? The answer is no, unless Simbu is playing, and then it gets its act together.
I mean, it does a series of things, and that series of things can be considered ATB. So there's that. Yeah, looks like Bursik is just going to hold on the music and give an alternate flavor to the lunar subterrane that Neongrey is going down.
That's a different kind of heroic descent into the lunar core. Yeah, Simbu is absolutely a warlock. He made a fell pact with the ATV system itself, and it grants him its strength. Very standard stuff.
Mm-hmm. Neongrey is going to take a moment to slingshot that Cecil, assuming he survives. They are taking a full fighter party. The closest to healer is that Cecil.
I am a bad commentator that I completely ignore the fact that, Fu was ditched for Cecil. This is going to be a Quint Zerker. You love to see it.
You know, in a 1v1, it's not going to affect the outcome if you do it or not. So this is when you're like, I'm giving y'all a show. Has ever so slightly run out of life potions.
As long as they can get this last one killed with Cecil alive, they'll be just fine. Just really want to get that Cecil slingshotted is all. And there we go.
Yeah, just 39 levels, no big.
Casual 39 levels. That's going to be a level 40 Cecil, I believe.
Yep.
Good enough. And agility's still low enough to get a decent manipulation on Zeromus here. And here we go, the final march down into the core for Neongrey. And then we'll start passing out the wine. So there's a lot going on in terms of strategy for the fabled Quint Zerker, but not a lot in execution. It's just use the Bacchuses, use the crystal, and put the controller down and have fun.
Yeah, the core of the strategy is just clogging that ATB queue and hoping you can get the kill before Zeromus can even do enough to make this a problem.
Yeah, with two Canes, Cecil, Edge, and heck, even Yang at this high level, all of them have really good equipment. There shouldn't be much stopping Neongrey here in terms of not being able to output enough damage to beat those big bangs out. Here we go. Open up the Bacchus, and they will rock us. Oh, just a quick aside to throw the Silk Web out. Smart play there. It's gonna nerf the first Big Bang and get the 2 instances of slow on Zeromus to help beat out his turns even more.
Yeah, in all likelihood, Yang can even throw a quick heal on himself before downing the wine, just to offset the nuke.
Yeah, if he even needs to. Yang is one of the rare characters that can take a face and still survive an unnerved Big Bang, which is one of the things that makes him very, very useful in the Zeromus fight, particular.
Mm-hmm. Let's see how that first bang goes. Pretty solid nerf.
Yep, should be pretty good from this point forward.
Yeah, I do think they would have been a little better off with Yang in the front and Cecil in the back, but given this party arrangement, you kind of want the 3 and 2, and you also want Cecil in the middle. You're kind of just dealing with what you've got at this point.
Yeah, I don't think Neongrey ever found a Dwarf Axe, so the Canes aren't back row glitched. So they need to be in the front. You need Cecil in the middle because he's effectively your anchor. He's the only one with agility below 24. So with the sort of setup that Neongrey has, there really isn't a place for Yang except in the back.
Yeah, I'm just a little more surprised that they gave Cecil bow and arrow when I would have sworn they went and forged the Excalibur and should have that.
Yeah, that actually is a good point. We'll have to ask Neongrey about that. That might be Artemis arrows that he has on from fighting the Ryus and just never made the swap over to the Excalibur.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
He's still doing fantastic damage, even still getting a lot of crits in.
Yeah, rocks are already falling.
Yeah, that was a single Big Bang, and it was nerfed. That is the power of Quint Zerker. One more good hit. There's the flash.
Yep.
GG to Neongrey. Chibi misses down, and we got to see the strat everyone loves in the Quint Zerker. We'll see if Neongrey wants to come in for an interview, and there they are. Neongrey, GG. Thanks for giving us the fabled Quint Zerker to end there.
You know, as soon as I saw the required party members, and actually, no, as soon as I got the second cane, I knew that was gonna happen.
I like the way you think. The first question actually comes from chat. This is from Rivers McCown. 30 Bacchus wines. He wants a comment on that.
I used almost all of them. I had to. I was actually conserving them at the end.
There you go. Not a single drop was wasted.
Yeah, like I kept a couple in reserve just in case of black hole, which it would have been a wipe if I'd had gotten that long anyway. But just in case I somehow got there and survived. But yeah, no, I got 30 because that's how many I needed.
Secondly, and probably more importantly, Hupfin on 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. This is hard to sync on Discord. Happy birthday, Neongrey.
Oh my god, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
So yeah, kind of gave you a tour of the whole world there. You were in sync with Bursik for like a good 90% of that run. One of the only differences was Bursik went in and fought the Dark Imps and you didn't. Were those Feymarch checks like lingering in the back of your mind for a good part, or what was kind of your thought process there?
Absolutely. The thing that kept me holding off, and as you can see, they gave me a bit of trouble at the end because of this, was I was out of hourglasses.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense now.
And,
That is very reasonable.
yeah, and I was like, if the other circumstances get me to a point where I can easily loop back and go buy another one, I'll do that. But then I got the rat tail and I had to move the hovercraft, and I was like, oh, whatever, by the time I get to it, I'll be strong enough to just take him down. And I was, but too late.
Yeah, and then that nasty nail was both the twin harp and the Luca key, both there on the moon. Just you've already made the moon play. You got to commit to that, and of course, just not getting you anywhere there.
Yeah, and at that point, I definitely don't want to hit up the mom bomb at Bahamut. That was like, oh, nope. I don't know what useless thing she had there, but I'm glad I didn't check that.
Yeah, it must have been an item because I don't think there's any key items left to get there.
Yeah, I got all of them. And then, of course, my very fun little oopsie at the very end, which was I went out of my way to pick up that Excalibur for Cecil. Did I equip that Excalibur on Cecil? No, I did not.
Yeah, but even still, with those Artemis arrows, he was still putting out respectable damage on Zero.
Oh yeah, he was doing fine. It's just like sometimes you forget things.
So it goes. But you did an impressive job, and especially on that Zeromus fight. I'd love to see those strats work out.
I mean, you know what? It's really rare where, you get that combination of, the goals, the item distribution and the character distribution that really lets you, really commit to that. And commit to that early, which, is huge just for, making sure that you've got your gear set up for that.
True.
So, very nice to get the chance to really do that proper.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, this puts you at 1 and 2 for the tournament. Definitely not out of it by any means, but probably in a position where you want to win out the rest of these matches. What kind of adjustments are you looking at making going on into the Swiss round?
It's hard to say. I think, by and large, my worst issues are just literal, the actual physical action of, working things. I'm very pokey with how I move. And that is really where I need to be working. I feel pretty good about things like my just my general decision making for where I do. I feel really confident about that, if only because, if I'm going somewhere, I tend to know exactly why I'm doing it. And if I'm making a bad decision, I know I'm making a bad decision. And and all of that. So I think again, it's just yeah, it's things like the muscle memory that I need to really drill into me there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you will be happy to know. Definitely, when you get a chance to check out this VOD. But your execution was really on point through much of the seed. Like I said, you and Bursik were really, making the same plays, the same checks at the same time, and you were always ahead. So it was really just like one or two decisions here and there that made it. So you really played strong tonight. So definitely be proud of yourself for that.
All good. And so yeah, it sounds like a lot of it came down to just things like shop purchases. Because again,
Yes,
like if I had those hourglasses, I would have done those imps much earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do you have any final thoughts on this seed before we wrap up for the night?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. Very fun little seed. Really played to the sort of things that I like to play. So didn't win, but I'm still pretty happy with that.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for being restreamed tonight, Neongrey. Really appreciate it. Good luck in your match next week, and take care. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Well, I don't know about you, Hupfin, but I had a fantastic.
That was quite the run, indeed.
Yeah, that was a really great race. Two excellent racers. Really excited to see how they both perform in their next round. But that is going to be it for Fabul Gauntlet action tonight. We are going to be sending you over to Penguinator, who's running some free enterprise async right now. So definitely show Penguinator some love. Huffin, do you have anything you want to add here at the end?
Not really, other than to say, follow these runners. They're excellent free enterprise players. They put on a great show for you all, and hope you come back for our upcoming matches tomorrow and all the rest of this week and next week, and it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, plenty of free enterprise left to go this week, so check it out here on the free enterprise channel and over on RPG Limit Break. But that's going to do it for us, for our restreamer Dathis, and for our tracker
Jovis.
Thank you, Jofus. Completely blank. Jofus. For my co-host Hupfin, I'm Smatey. Have a wonderful night, everybody.